Hi.
Hi.
I have a question about your tour. How is your tour going?
The tour is going amazingly. It's like we're about a third into the tour now.
We've done about 10 shows, I think, so far.
Yeah. It's going to be a whole month on the road.
What's the most impressive moment
well,
so far?
We're in the Paradiso in Amsterdam just now, and I think that's going to be a highlight because it's always amazing.
Yeah.
So you're looking forward?
Yeah, we've got a very special connection with Amsterdam, and especially with this club, the Paradiso. I don't know, we've played here loads of times, and it's a very, I don't know, there's something about the atmosphere here that's just really electric, you know. It's always just really great vibe.
But if you forget about the Netherlands and you think about what you've done so far for this tour, is there one concert you really enjoyed?
There's been a few. I think the London show at the Roundhouse. The Roundhouse is just an epic building. It's so beautiful. We played the Albert Hall in Manchester as well, which is a big old theatre,
so
which is incredible.
You find the place you play.
The atmosphere is important, yeah. And Lance in Belgique in Brussels is
that was amazing.
One of the best venues in Europe.
I see. Yeah. Did you notice the audience, like for this tour? Did you notice the audience had a preference for one song, one track?
It really varies.
Yeah, it's hard to say as well because everyone goes crazy for In Binary, but that's the opening song, and the lights are really crazy for it.
And they love, you know, Gabriel and songs like that.
They always like it.
Thing. But I think what's really surprised me is how much people seem to know the new stuff. You know, it's like.
So you can notice that on the.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first tour of the new album, and people are singing along and responding, you know, to the opening lines of a song. You know, they're cheering for them and everything. So that's amazing.
Not only in England, not only.
No,
it's
in Europe. It's been really amazing.
And we're playing nearly all of the new record. We're so proud of the new record. We're not one of these bands that just kind of tries to put in a couple of the new songs. We're just playing the whole thing. I think my favourite to play of the new album is We Fall in Love. It's just so great to play.
It just builds really well. Yeah. People.
That's why it was the single, I guess.
Well, yeah, but we didn't realise that it was going to be so good live when we made it a single. It just felt like a natural single, but now playing it live, it's kind of got another dimension, you know. And by the end, people are just like, you know, just sucked into this dynamic with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward for tonight. But how are you today in comparison with 5 years ago? How is Lam?
Got a few more grey hairs. How's Lam different now from 5 years? I think we've hit our stride now. I think we've been together for nearly 20 years, and it's only really in the last 3 years that I can honestly say that we've found our full power. It's like the essence of Lam has been condensed. You know, we've done it with like a large band and lots of crew, and we've done it with lots of guest musicians and producers, and this time we just did it all ourselves. It was just Lou and I in a room for about 5 months, not that long. And we've just kind of found a new, unique kind of purity to the essence of Lam.
But aren't you just the two of you for your debut, your first album?
Well, in a way, this is like a rebirth, this album, because I think energetically there's a lot of similarities with the first album.
So you're back to Goreki, if I say it right?
No, I think more the simplicity of the first album. I mean, Goreski was probably the most complex song on that album, you know. I think when we reformed to make 5, we had this really kind of serious talk about what we really thought Lam was about, where we felt we might have kind of taken some wrong turns in the past, where we felt we were, you know, things were right, and it was all really about harking back to that simplicity of when we made the first album, and much of that was because we were quite naive. We were just starting out and we had really limited technology, and so with this record we've put other limitations on ourselves, like working really quickly with the songs. If anything's not needed sonically, we take it out.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What's simplicity for you? To work with the two of you, or the means you use when you make music?
No, the sound that we make. You know, it's like your first idea is so often your best. And as human beings, once the mind and the ego kick in, we start questioning, is this right? Is this, oh, could I do better? Could I, you know.
Perfectionist.
Yeah, and actually, if you keep to those really, you know, those first ideas, quite often it really is, you know, it's like before anything else kicks in, it's just that creative flow that comes
Andy,
through
do you agree with do you agree with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, you used to have so many more, you know, creativity is good by having it framed around something. Like when we first started, our first studio had 20 seconds of sample time. We had a 4-track reel-to-reel, and so the limitations bring out creativity. But now anyone with a laptop has got infinite tracks, and you can kind of keep piling stuff on.
Yeah.
So instead of having that to work with, we use time. So like, you know, We Fall in Love was written and recorded pretty much in 2 days. You know,
Wow.
just like
It was last minute. It was, we thought we'd finish the album, and then we started to write that. Because Andy
I had a hunch.
Yeah,
my last minute hunches.
Yeah.
Good.
But it's kind of like, if you think about graphic design, you know, there was once a phase when graphic design was kind of pure because it was done by graphic designers, and then everybody got Photoshop and Illustrator and all these graphic design programs, and you see this graphic design that's just every typeface you can possibly put in one piece of work, and it looks terrible. But it's because people are just like, oh, well, I've got all these typefaces and all these things that
become blind from all the...
Exactly, and you don't use distinction. You know, you don't kind of. You need to be able to limit yourself in a way to.
Can you imagine this is insane? Well, there's a question about what's your secret, but I think that makes your music maybe for you different than other electronic music or other bands.
I think we're in it. I think that's the biggest difference.
Sorry?
We're in it.
Exactly. It's the way you feel it.
Yeah.
I think we make music that we love, and there's no other, you know, not for any other reason really. You know, some people make music because they want to sound like a certain thing, or they want to be in a cool kind of clique, or they want to be famous, or they want, you know, or this kind of thing. I think.
So you don't see yourself as part of some kind of fashion? Yeah, movement.
Not really.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, the funny thing is that, you know, people have tried to put us in these movements, like people called us trip hop. We were never really trip hop.
No.
It was just that we came out in that kind of time, and you know, then people called us drum and bass, but really we just touched into drum and bass. It was never something that we wore as a badge or anything like that. And
so what's the secret? That's the question. What's your
secret? I don't know. I think just as I said, making the music we love to make without having to feeling the need to label it, or
so the freedom that you don't feel like labeling it.
Yeah.
Again, about the secret. What's the secret of this album? Making this album, or you discussed it about simplicity and the limitation. I think it's something we discussed already.
And that what Andy was saying about putting time limits on ourselves so that we don't get too.
So if you think about your last album, your previous album.
Well, we did that quite quickly. I think it's been a learning process really. Since we reformed, we just had these kind of touchstones. We don't tend to plan in terms of write ourselves a menu of what we're going to do, but we have certain kind of key points that we really want to kind of, we just keep kind of coming back to, which is, you know, just keeping it simple. If it's not needed, if something's not needed, then take it out. You know, it's about the space between the notes and between the words that matter.
What's your favorite song from the album? I think we discussed that also in the beginning a little bit. Is that the singer or is it another song?
It varies.
Yeah,
but I guess.
I think my favourite song currently on the record in terms of musicianship is "As Satellites Go By," just because it's got so many kind of depths and angles, and it's actually quite complicated, and it's in strange time signatures, but it kind of flows, and it's powerful. You know, it just gives me goosebumps when I play it every time.
It is quite. It's quite moving to play live. Because,
are you gonna play it?
Yeah, because it's so stripped back at the beginning, and then it's another of our songs that really build, and you can see the emotion in people's faces when they're listening, because it's about us all being, magical beings in our own way. So it's quite emotional for us to play, and you know, for the audience as well. We've got lovely lights for that as well.
Last question: what's your nicest memory about your stay in Sofia, your tour in Sofia, your last concert? You're not the only one.
I don't remember. You know, it's kind of quite hard when you kind of go from city to city and you don't have a long time in any particular place. But I just remember walking around some of the older streets and kind of feeling that it felt quite European. You know, it felt different from other Eastern European countries like Poland and places like that. It was like I guess because it's smaller and it's just got it seems to have its own character somehow, which I really like.
Do you remember something about the tour, the concert? Was there something special about the crowd or the audience?
It was really big, kind of fairly swanky club, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, it was quite a big. I think it was called the Crystal.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I remember we went out for some really delicious food.
Okay, you remember the food?
Yeah, we asked the local promoter.
Food's usually quite key in our touring life. What's for dinner?
Yeah. And they took us to a nice restaurant and had local food, and it was really delicious.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to going again.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.